Hello everybody and welcome back to Red Eagle Politics. Make sure you guys like this video down below and subscribe to the channel if you are new. So Kamala Harris's odds in Polymarket, they keep on plunging during her own convention, which is very strange because conventions usually give you a bump. They give you a bump in the polls, and usually they also give you a bump on the Polymarket, the betting odds, predict it, you name it. But we're not seeing that. We're actually seeing the opposite. Donald Trump has gained a net 11 points since before the DNC began. And I think the odds have come back down a little bit today, especially as many people were speculating about who the secret guest speaker is going to be. And it doesn't really seem like that's going to be somebody political that's going to move the needle, most likely a celebrity of sorts that always endorses Democrats. But when you look at this, this is a big shift, and it shows that people are putting their money, not with Harris. And betting markets are not definitive, but they do kind of show who has momentum in a given moment. And that is the one thing that they can accurately deduce. If Trump is gaining, even if it's from like 25% to 35%, back in like 2016, his odds were low, that was kind of an indication that Donald Trump had some momentum. Whether it would carry him to victory or not is irrelevant. But Donald Trump now, during the DNC, has the momentum. They're letting Harris talk. They're letting these people talk. And when they're talking, are they accurately hitting Trump for his presidency on policy? No, they're not. They're just going out there. It's like a roast session. It's like one of those award shows during Trump's presidency, like the Oscars or whatever, where every single actor gets up there and just, trashes Trump with mediocre comedy. And that's exactly what you're seeing. Even the Obama speech is not really moving the needle. You're not really seeing people put their money on Harris watching this DNC because it kind of shows that they're full of hot air. And just negativity towards Trump. Is that going to be enough to get Harris across the finish line? Not in and of itself, because there's no policies that, reach out to the average voter. They're just vague platitudes, and that's pretty much it. It's vague, these, talking points that are all just nonsensical about, Project 25 this and, all this stuff about Trump bad. It's just orange man bad convention. That's all it really is. And the betting markets are not reacting kindly to it. And there's the question, do we even get a convention bump? Because Harris in the polling has already consolidated her party. Usually convention bumps are partly fueled by response bias and they're temporary, which she's kind of got that already going for her right now. But on top of it, the convention bumps are usually to consolidate people in your party behind the candidate. We saw that for Donald Trump back in 2016. A lot of Republicans were not on board with Donald Trump, but then he saw a surge during the convention. Part of it might have been Republican response bias, but part of it also, just because you had a lot of people that, were not fully on board. And then Donald Trump went up there and he gave a very good speech. And yet all these people in the party come together for the sake of party unity, hyping up Donald Trump. And well, there you go. So you look at this and it just seems like all of this nonsense. Oh, these Republicans for Harris. Nobody believes that is a real phenomenon in the real world. You have basically the same Republicans who are going to support Biden come forward. I'm a real conservative. What's conservative about Kamala Harris? You don't even have to like Trump. But Kamala Harris agrees with, Republican conservative principles, even in these people's views, like 0% of the time. Yeah, you're a Reaganite who supports a woman that's only policy proposal she didn't steal from the other guy is Marxist price controls that have failed in the Soviet Union, failed in Venezuela, failed in even this country when it was tried in a limited capacity back in the Nixon years. Yeah, no. And everybody knows that nobody's minds are being changed by a lot of these people in the real world. They'll try, but, it's not really moving the needle for them. Most of the people watching it are Democrats anyways. And we understand that, and the betting markets do too. But part of this shift also is not necessarily just because of the DNC. I believe part of it is because Donald Trump will be stealing the thunder of the DNC tomorrow because he is likely going to get an endorsement. RFK Jr., his campaign is broke. His running mate has hinted that they may drop out, join forces with Donald Trump, and they're going to be doing an event in Arizona tomorrow. Guess who else is doing an event in Arizona tomorrow? Donald Trump. And Donald Trump is going to be joined by a special guest according to reports. So, who exactly is this going to be? Well, the outline, that may not exactly be, the full outline of RFK Jr., because they might want to throw people off, but it's very likely that it is RFK Jr. And RFK Jr. in the polls is polling at like 4%. He's not going to get that if he stays in. If he stays in, he probably gets like 1 to 2% of the popular vote. But still, that is kind of a crucial voting block, because a lot of those voters that were just parking their vote there, went to Kamala Harris if they were like skeptical of Biden for his, mental decline or whatever. And many would have probably gone home to Biden anyways if he was still staying in the race. But still, RFK Jr., if Biden continued to implode, probably would have gotten more votes and taken more votes from the Democrats. But now, currently, a lot of the votes that he's taking away from one of the two major candidates, he's taking away from Trump. And if he endorses Trump and, takes his name off the ballots, if that's even possible at this point, and it helps Donald Trump by 0.3%, that could be huge in a state like Pennsylvania that's likely to be decided by a, razor-thin margin. Could be within a dozen thousand votes either way. A lot of these swing states could go down the wire. So you're looking at this, and this is just very, very good news for Donald Trump out of the, obviously it's not out of the state of Arizona, but it will be taking place in the state of Arizona. And that is partially what could be moving these betting markets as well into Donald Trump's column. But we also know that there's been all this talk about the polls are tightening. And I have said this is largely due to a response bias. If pollsters polled the same exact people, they would not be seeing these, rapid shifts in one direction or another. And there was a poll that did test this out of Texas. It is the poll from the University of Houston. And while it does show a tightening race, they did have a subsample that they surveyed in June, and then they resurveyed them in August to kind of see, who's bleeding support here. And actually, Harris retained less of Biden's voter base in June than Donald Trump retained of his voter base in June. So you look at that and it's like, okay, well, that's absolutely huge, because Donald Trump is actually not the one that's in a lot of trouble here, if anything. And you see a lot of shifts in these polls. It's not because Harris is picking up Trump voters. In fact, Trump is picking up the same amount of voters from Biden's share, the Biden 2024 share, than Harris is picking off from Trump. So you see that. Now, Harris is getting new voters because some Kennedy voters are going home, slightly more undecided voters are going home, but that's just an insignificant number. And I know it's just the state of Texas, but I imagine it's very similar nationwide. And while a lot of the Kennedy voters did shift their vote to Harris, the remaining Kennedy voters, his 31% that he's retained from the 100% he had in June, that remaining percent is more likely to shift to Trump now that Kennedy is not going to be in the race anymore. So when you look at this, this is an absolutely astounding find, because it shows that, yes, my theory is right. I'm not saying Harris hasn't gained a little bit, but it's minuscule. And a lot of it has to do with response bias more so than, Donald Trump is imploding, because Trump is stronger than ever, even according to this poll. But Harris definitely, maybe some of those undecideds that were already leaning Democrat, the Kennedy voters, many of whom still could have come home to Biden, that's who she's picking up. She's picking up support. And again, a lot of that is soft support that either A, is still malleable, or B, there is a very good chance that, Biden was going to get anyway. So either way, Donald Trump is in a good shape according to the betting markets, and even according to the polling. When you look into the polls, which a lot of people are not doing because they don't do this, we'll resurvey these people and see what's exactly happening, because when they do that, it's a negligible shift overall. In fact, Trump is retaining more of his vote than Harris is retaining of Biden's vote from June, which part of the sample was before the debate, and then part of the sample was after the debate, for people that are wondering about that specific poll. But anyways, guys, make sure you like this video down below, comment down below, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell for notifications so you never miss another video. Follow me on social media. The links are all in the description down below, and I will see you guys in the next one. Red Eagle, out.